Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made these miniature macrame plant hangers for my sunroom. The knot that I'll be showing in this video can be used to create a variety of different patterns, as you can see. I will be adding beads to the hanger that I'm making today, but those are optional. The materials and technique that I'm showing can also be used to make belts like the ones my dolls are wearing. This is number 10 crochet thread that I got from Michaels. Now when I'm using this, I prefer to give it a coat of craft paint because without it, the thread is pretty flimsy. So using the paint not only gives a lot of color options, it also makes the thread stiffer, which makes it easier to work with. Another option you could use is this hemp cord used for making bracelets. If you use this, then there's no need for paint because it's already pretty stiff and it comes in a variety of colors. I'm also using 1/4 inch jump rings. For my beads, I'm using these seed beads. I used craft paint to cover the plastic so they would look more like wood. I'm using these 1/2 inch hooks to hold the piece while I'm working on it, but you could also use a clipboard or a binder clip or whatever you have. I'll be using these pots that I made out of paper, and I'll put a link in the description box to the video that shows how I made them in case you want to make your own pots too. So the first thing I'm doing is measuring a piece of string that's roughly 24 inches long. I'm using my arm to measure and it doesn't have to be exact. And I'll cut 8 pieces. So I'll thread the 8 pieces through the jump ring and then slide the jump ring down to the middle of the strings. And now I can hang my strings from the hook. Now here I've cut another piece of string that's about 10 inches long that I'll use to wrap around the other strings. So I take the string and make a loop like this. So I have a short end that's sticking straight up and then a longer end that I'll be using to wrap around the other strings. I lay the string on top of my bundle of strings and then begin wrapping the long end around. I'm wrapping firmly but not too tight, and I'm trying to wrap as neatly as I can. After about the 5th or 6th time around, I put my wrapping end down through the loop. And then I grab the end that's sticking up at the top and I begin pulling it upward. As I pull, it takes the loop under the coils. And then I trim the ends as close to the coils as I can. And this is called a gathering knot. The plant hanger will have 4 arms and each arm will have 4 strings. So I'm grabbing 4 strings that are closest together and then I hang the others on the hook to keep them out of the way. Here are the 4 strings that I'll be working with. The left hand string, the right hand string, and the 2 center strings that I'll use as a stem to tie the knots around. I start my knot by making a loop with the right hand string. It should look like the letter P. I'm placing the tail end of the P on top of the 2 center strings. Now I'm going to place the left hand string on top of the tail end of the right hand string. Now I'm going to take that left hand string and take it behind the 2 center strings and up through the loop. I hold the 2 center strings with my fingers and pull the other 2 strings nice and tight. To finish the knot, I'm going to do the exact same thing but on the other side. I make a backwards P with the left hand string with the tail end on top of the center strings. I place the right hand string on top of the tail end, take the right hand string behind the 2 center strings and up through the loop and pull it tight. And that is a square knot. Now I'll repeat those steps and make another square knot. Make a P with the tail across the top of the center strings. Place the left hand string on top of the tail. Take the left hand strings behind the center strings and up through the loop, and pull it tight. So there's half of my square knot. Now for the other side. Make a backwards P, right hand string on top of the tail, and then take it behind the center strings and up through the loop. Hold the center strings with your fingers and then pull the other two strings tight. That completed the second square knot. I repeated these steps until I had a total of 5 square knots. I'm looking at these vertical loops to count the square knots. Here's where I want the bead, and I'm just sliding it up the 2 center strings. And then I tie a square knot around it to hold it in place. I make a total of 5 square knots under the bead. Now I'm going to start making spiral knots, and to do that I simply make half a square knot. So instead of alternating sides, I'm just going to keep making knots on this side. After a few knots, the spiral pattern begins to form. And I just keep making knots until the spiral portion is as long as I want it. And this is where I decided to stop. I repeat this same pattern for the other 3 arms. To make the basket part of the plant hanger, I grab 2 arms that are close to each other, and then I take the 2 innermost strings from each arm. And these will be the 4 strings that I'll use to make the square knot that will connect the arms together. I'm making the square knot about ½ an inch down from the bottom of the spiral, and I just use my finger to measure. Now I'm going to grab the next closest arm, and again take the 2 innermost strings from each one, and make a square knot about ½ an inch down. I try to make it as even as possible with the other one. I repeat that process until all 4 arms are connected. Now I'm going to make a second set of square knots by grabbing the 2 closest connecting knots that I just made. So I take the 2 innermost strings from each connecting knot and make a square knot about ½ an inch down. Then I go all the way around just like before. When I finish the second set of connection knots, I can test the fit of my pot. I'm going to make another gathering knot at the bottom, and I'll be using one of these strings. After cutting the string, I use the same steps as before to make a gathering knot. I trim the ends, and here's how the finished product looks with the pot. And now all that's left is to add the plants. If you haven't seen my video on how to make houseplants, be sure to check that one out too. And that's it for now. I hope this was helpful. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.